Hello fellow gamers and game developers. Welcome to my devlog and my channel. So I participated in a 72-hour game jam last week. I've started learning game design and development 3 years ago, but this is the first game jam that I've ever attended. So I think it would be super cool if I can make a devlog video about my experience and share with everybody how I made my game. In this 72-hour, I made Drifty Raft. It is a super awesome strategic survival game. It's really simple and all players have to do is just to control this fisherman, avoid sea monsters, and survive as long as they can. Without further ado, let's jump right into the devlog video and see how this game is created in just 72 hours. Okay, first thing first, every game jam has a theme. The game jam I attended this time is Scorespace Jam, and it requires two things for my game: a survival theme and a leaderboard system. I tried to come up with multiple types of survival themes such as a plane crash survival game, caveman survival game, and a space travel survival game. Eventually, I landed on the idea of combining a sailing themed survival with hexagonal map. This is because I feel like most survival games have themes of either fighting zombies, harvesting resources, or surviving in the fallout shelter. I feel that the game with sailing background is rarely explored in most survival games, and I have a pretty good chance of coming up with something cool. And with that being said, let's head straight to our work. I decided to use pixel art for my game because of the time limitation. The game jam is only 72 hours long, and I work solo. So if I spend too much time working on the sophisticated illustration, then I wouldn't have time to finish the entire game. At the end of the first day, I have already constructed the backbone logic of my game. I managed to draw all the simplest sprites for my game: the player, a shark, and also some map tiles. I also managed to generate a hexagonal map in Unity. And I also give the shark a pathfinding system that works in the hexagonal map to let it track down the player. Cool. So the time comes to the second 24-hour. In this 24-hour, my primary goal is basically to enrich the gameplay. Using the shark as a blueprint, I developed 3 other enemies. I named the enemies the hunter shark, the prophet octopus, the squishy squid, and the muffy sea monster. Each enemy has very different chasing algorithms. The hunter shark chases straight after the player because I want it to become the most aggressive sea creature. For the octopus, since octopus have 9 brains, I want it to be smart. It will predict the player's movement and will track them down by targeting the tile in front of the players. The squishy squid plays as the shark's best partner. It will collaborate with the shark and try to flank the player from the other side. The muffy sea monster is the most mysterious sea creature, so I wanted to approach the player as the shark does. However, when it gets too close, it will try to flee away. If some people are familiar with old retro games, they may discover that this chasing mechanism may be similar to the chasing mechanisms in Pac-Man. In Pac-Man, the developers also gave different ghosts different chasing algorithms. Surprisingly, they found out that although each enemy is chasing Pac-Man in its own algorithm, when they're being put into the same map, it looked like that they were attempting to collaborate with each other. As I managed to achieve the same pathfinding algorithm in Drifty Raft, I found out that this applies to the game in hexagonal tiles as well. Meanwhile, as I was doing playtestings, I made an adjustment to the game's tension curve. The original game puts the player into an infinite chase that never stops, and the tension only keeps increasing as more enemies are spawned in the map. Soon, the players will become too tired of the game because of the heavy cognitive load, and they cannot yield any enjoyment from the game. Therefore, I introduced the trident, which is a powerful weapon. They are consumable items and are spawned randomly on the sea tiles. Once players pick them up, they can use it to either attack enemies or defend themselves when they are being attacked. Enemies that were hit by the trident will be stunned temporarily and cannot move. This frees the players from the intense chasing game, and with this design, the game's tension curve can be controlled in a reasonable range, giving the player the incentive to continue playing. Alright, the time has finally come to the last 24 hours. In this 24-hour, my main task is to refine and polish the game. The first thing I spotted was that the players and the shark missed some smooth moving animation, so I gave them one. Now the animation looks much better. Then, the enemy stun effect was also added during this period in order to indicate their state visually. Also, as this is required by the game jam, I integrated the global leaderboard system into the game start menu. Players from different places in the world will be able to compete for the first place. And finally, I added in some very fun and satisfying sound effects. And the last thing to do is to submit the game to the game jam. I have published Drifty Raft on itch.io, and I will also post a link to the game's webpage in the description below. Everybody, please feel free to try it out and challenge the scoreboard. After the submission, I was really surprised to find out that game developers and gamers like Drifty Raft very much. So I am also thinking about porting this game from a webpage to a mobile platform. This way I can let more people in the world to try out this super awesome game. Well, that concludes my experience attending the first game jam in my game development career. I must say that this is a very challenging process because it requires to come up with so many ideas and implement them one by one within a limited amount of time. But at the same time, this is also very rewarding because I got to practice my game designing and developing skills. So my friend, if any one of you are interested in making a game, I would highly recommend you to try out joining some game jams to get yourself started. And that is everything I have to say for this video. I'm Markson22, a game developer who wishes to create more inspiring games. If you like my content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting more game development videos in the future and share my game's progress with you guys. See you next time. Bye!